Hello, everyone. It's Lynette Lewis. Happy Tuesday to you. Going to start our live today, and I'm so excited that you can join us. We decided to move our live to the little bit later time frame. I've been doing these at 11, but we chose to move them to 1 o'clock Eastern in hopes that some of our West Coast friends could join us. So I'm going to give it just a minute while some of you guys are hopping on. It is a very nice, quiet day in our home as of about 5 minutes ago when everybody left. The girls went out for a little break in school. They're out riding bikes. And my husband just left to go do a couple things at his office. And so here we are. So I'm really excited today to bring to you a brand new friend of mine, even though she and I feel like we've been friends for a long time. Don't you love that when you meet someone new and you just are kindred spirits right from the beginning? Well, this happened to us very recently. Her name is Karris Hudson. And Karis, I'm going to join you right now. She's on, and I cannot wait for you guys to meet her. Here she comes. Here she comes. Karis, hi, Karis.
Hello.
Good morning,
Hi.
good afternoon,
Trying
rather.
to just, I know. This is so exciting.
I know, it's so fun to be with you, and you are coming to us live from Nashville, right?
I am, yes, from Nashville, Tennessee.
And you and I were talking a little bit ago. We were catching up and trying to get our heads together for this live Instagram. And
I
we were
know.
sharing a little bit about just kind of the craziness of what we're all living through right now.
Yeah.
And you have a fascinating journey. Those of you who've been joining me for these daily lives know that
Mhm.
I am always looking for a variety of stories, a variety of people with different places, different talents, different businesses. And
Mhm.
Karis is certainly someone who has had just a fascinating adventure. A lot of our
Mhm.
friends out there are single, like I was for many years, and like Karis still is. And I know she's going to be a real inspiration for you in that regard too. But Karis, tell us what the first thing I usually
Yeah.
do is ask everyone, where are they? We know you're in Nashville, but tell us where you are. Are you in your house, or what are you doing right now?
So I am in Nashville. I'm actually near our office right now, and I live in Haiti full time. I lived in Haiti for about 18 years since 2002. In the past year, I've been in Nashville a lot, working in our office here, just trying to get things set up. And we'll be back in Haiti in a couple months. So that's where I am right now. That's where I'm based right now. But I usually live in Haiti full time.
I mean, Haiti is just such, has been, in the news over
Yeah.
the last years, and it's just
Hmm.
such a fascinating thing. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about how you ended up there? Because I think
Hmm.
you and I were sharing before, you look back over your life and you think, wow, it's just so different than what I thought it would be. And here you
Yeah.
are now. Tell us how you got there, and then what's happened in your heart over the years to really make it a
Mm.
calling in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a Christian, accepted Jesus when I was 5 years old, and always had a heart to be a missionary. My mom is actually from Greece, and she was in an
Wow.
orphanage and has an amazing, amazing story. And I just, it was always something that I wanted to do. Always wanted to work in a children's home, always wanted to be a mom, but to be a mom to children that, didn't have someone. So I never
Wow.
had the desire to have my own biological children. I just knew I wanted to be a mom. And so I thought my life would turn out different. I thought I would graduate high school, go to college. And my number one desire is to get married. I thought that was going to happen, 100%. That would happen first. And then get married and then adopt children. And then one day wanted to go to a different country and a third world country and be a missionary. And I was 17 years old, about to graduate high school, actually here in Nashville, Tennessee, and just started to feel just unsettled about it, about
Mhm.
going off to college, and wasn't really sure what that was. When you're 17, it was like my first experience of like, what's going on and what am I feeling? And so after a while, just a couple months of just really praying, I just really felt like God was saying, just stay in Nashville the first year. And back then, that was 21 years ago. It was not
Mhm.
cool to take a year off or a gap year. there was no online courses. Like we didn't have smartphones. That wasn't a thing. So
Exactly.
it was very abnormal, very unique. But it was one of those times where I just knew like 100% this is what God wanted me to do. So long story short, ended up staying in Nashville, working 2 jobs during the day, going to a community college at night just to get some classes, and then ended up moving to New York City, which I know we share the same heart with New York. I
Yep.
love New York so much. It's one of my favorite places. Moved to New York, worked in the inner city there in Brooklyn. Back when
Wow.
Brooklyn wasn't really a cool place to live, which
Yeah.
is kind of more cool now. And then that's where I just really knew my life was going to take a different turn. Still always thought, I'd get married. I moved there when I was 18. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to meet someone here, or this is how it's
Right.
going to work out. And, you think, okay, it's going to happen when I'm 20 and then 21 and 25. And
Oh,
then it
yeah.
doesn't.
It's
But,
so true.
but yeah, so that's where I was there for about 3 years and then just started feeling like, unsettled. Like I felt like God was moving me into a new season. So I thought, well, maybe now this is my season to be normal and to go to college. So I was like, well, I'll live in New York City and Manhattan and, get a place or whatever, and then go to college. And so I started looking at colleges. And at the same time, I was planning a mission trip to visit Danita's children. I had met Danita, the founder of Danita's children, when I was about 17 years old. And so yeah, I would take my days off and go to the city to look at colleges, and then was also planning this mission trip on the side. And so it was 2002, March 2002, and went on the mission trip for a week and went to Haiti, and just can't really explain it other than I just knew that that's where I was supposed to be. I knew that that's where it was, all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. And at that time, some colleges, actually Oral Roberts University, was starting to offer correspondence courses where you could mail in your exams and tests and all that. So I thought, well, I can live in Haiti and then I can finish college at the same time. So that's what I did. I moved there when I was 21. And at that time, Danita had a small house with about 25 children. Now we have
Wow.
a huge campus and a children's hospital and a school and a church and a feeding program. So I've been
Wow.
there, went there about 2 or 3 years after she had started it. And so that's been my journey to Haiti, but it was something that started when I was younger. God had put that in my heart. I always knew I wanted to be a missionary. I just never thought it would happen so quick.
Wow. I mean,
Mhm.
that is so encouraging,
Mhm.
I think, on so many levels. Like what I hear in your story are a number of different truths that I found to be
Mhm.
true about how the Lord works and how
Yeah.
he surprises us.
Mhm.
If you're like me, I know we have a lot in common with our journey. It's sort of
Mhm.
like I look back now, and now that I'm married, been married for 15 years, didn't get married till I was 42. And I look
Mhm.
back now and I see so clearly that I wasn't on hold, but I
Yeah.
felt on hold. I
Yeah.
think a lot of us feel that it may not be marriage. It might be with
Mhm.
promotion. It might be with a job. It might be a
Yeah.
challenge we're facing personally, a family member who's chronically
Yeah.
ill, or there's just so many things. And now,
Mhm.
certainly in this crisis, I mean, how
Yeah.
much of our lives feel on hold? Like
Yeah.
we're really, and I think often we feel held back. But here you are. And what I hear in your story, many things, but one of them is you just kept moving forward. You said,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to go to New York.
Yeah.
How interesting. And it's
Mhm.
not like New York was the perfect setup for Haiti, but you were
Mhm.
pursuing your dream and your tapestry of paths and where you went and how God was
Yeah.
leading you, and just the different than what we think but better than what we imagine.
Yeah.
And now, how many years have you been in Haiti now?
So I've been in Haiti about 18 years. I moved there
Wow.
2002. So it's
And when
been
you went, was that you said that was a mission, like just like a mission trip?
Mhm. Did, yeah.
Amazing.
I took a couple mission trips in high school. Went to work for in an orphanage in Jamaica and the Bahamas. So it had been, I'd done some overseas missions. And growing up, my mom had a ministry on the side where we went out every single week and helped people. So I grew
Wow.
up just knowing that there was another side. It doesn't matter if you're in Haiti suffering or you're in New York City or Beverly Hills. There's suffering everywhere. So I just
Hmm.
really had that desire to help relieve suffering. And I mean, back to what you said, I think we're all in a season of waiting for something. I think, you and I have a similar story in singleness. Some people are waiting for a child, or some people are waiting for a job promotion, or some people are waiting for just, you know, to write a book, or whatever it is. We're all waiting. And I think it's important that waiting, it's not an act of just sitting. It's an act. We actually do something, and we're we're waiting while we're trying to, accomplish what God has for us. And so I think that's been the greatest thing that I've learned in this journey is just, obviously singleness is a big part of my life, waiting for that person, but there's also other things I've waited for. And it's important for, especially young people, that's my heart, is just to show them like you can advance in life and you can have an adventure, and you can, no matter if you're waiting and how hard it is, there's still so much life and adventure in the midst of that. And I'm so grateful for that, even in the waiting. And like it's still just as hard as it was when I was 18 than it is now at 39, but you have the history of seeing God's faithfulness and seeing, what you've been able to do in those seasons of waiting. So I'm really grateful for all that.
It is so true. I love how you put that, because it's the pain is there, but you're gathering gifts along the way.
Yeah.
You think about the people, the experiences, the wisdom we get, the revelation. You and I were talking before about just that intimacy you get with the Lord. I mean, such a rich, true, lasting, multi-dimensional intimacy, just like in any relationship, by what you go through and the fact that you're clinging. I went through 9/11 as a single person. You're going through this as a single person. And yet, even though I'm married now, I find so many aspects of my walk with the Lord feel exactly the same as they did before, because I'm married to a powerful guy who's called to the kingdom, and we got to both be pressing into God, because we're independent, even though we're one as well. And I just see that in your life. It's, even the motherhood thing. I mean, how has that been for you? I know, I love when you post things about your 200 children and all of that. Tell us about the whole motherhood experience in this very unconventional way.
Yeah, I think, one of the sweetest parts of this story and, parenting and parenting through singleness and all that has been just how present God has been, and how, your relationship with him grows so much. And, I have, my little journal. I've been keeping a journal since I was like 17 years old, but
I love it.
It's filled with just stories of God's faithfulness, and how he cares about the little things. Like I can't tell you how many stories where it's like even something, so small, and God would just make it happen, or something only he would know. And that's been really special to see throughout the years. And, when you don't have something to depend on, like a man, or you don't have, that financially or emotionally or anything, you cling to your relationship with Jesus. And that's, there are some times, even though my heart longs for it, there are some times where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to lose what I've had with him, because it's so special. Like he really
very true
does care. And I think in the parenting journey, my life, like you said, it's not conventional. And people ask me how many kids you have. I'm like, 100, a lot. And, a lot of the kids, when I first moved to Haiti, we had about 25 kids. A lot of them now are in college. So we have about 12 that are here in the States. We have some that are in Haiti. A lot of them, 2 just got married. We had one that just had a baby 2 weeks ago. So I've been able to see just the generation, this first generation grow up. And there's been a lot of hard moments in the parenting journey. I think as, before we had 1 girl's home and we had 1 boy's home. And I had about 40 boys almost all the time in one house, and just raising them, was so much fun. Like I tell everyone, like they're the best kids ever. I think everyone thinks that about their own kids, which is amazing, but they really have, they've been like the greatest gift in this whole journey of just being single too. But it's also been extremely hard, because you don't have that person to, you have 40 boys and you have discipline issues and all of these kinds of things, especially when they become teenagers. You don't have that person to speak into their life. And there's so many times I just go into my room and just, cry so much, just because I was like, I just can't do this without your strength. And I'm parenting all these boys, with a lot of help, obviously with Danita and Brenda or other missionaries. But it was just really hard but when I look back, those were the sweetest moments. And as I've seen them grow, I've seen them become just really precious men of God, and just, with manners. And so I feel like just seeing how God has fathered them, and even in the absence of not having that, because I longed for that so much, I just thought, well, I wish I had, a husband that I can show them what it looks like. And I think it's been, it's been great for our girls too, to see you can still live life and you can serve the Lord and have a fun, adventurous life without that, and still desire it and pray for it and want it. But yeah, the parenting journey has been, it's been, I feel like it's been my lifesaver, really. I feel so bad for women that don't have that, that aren't moms, that are going through singleness like without that, because that has really been the thing that's helped me so much. And now they're, as your kids get older, they become your friends too. Just
Yes.
yesterday I told them, they're like, how are you? And I'm like, pray for me. It's hard. They become your best friends. And so that's been really special.
I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think about too how so many of my friends got married, in their 20s, like you and I thought it would happen for us, and started having babies right away. I have a very fruitful bunch of friends. They've had many kids, not 100 like you, but they've had a lot. And yet we talk about the fact that it'd be so easy for someone who's married with little kids, and I have plenty of friends doing that right now, to look at you and I and think, wow, look at the adventures they've had to live. Look at, she gets to go do her overseas thing. And, I've been this corporate woman. I had this corporate career that I'm so deeply grateful for. But I do think that temptation is there to want that one thing that we don't have. And what you've done and the choices you've made is to say, okay, I'm not going to deny my desire, because I found that would be the challenge sometimes, either I have to, people would say, you probably heard it, well, when you finally let go of the desire, then it'll happen, right? That's a bunch of bunk, by the way.
I know.
Because I don't think you can ever let go of a desire that's really of God, you know? But to say, okay, so this desire, this dream, I'm going to put that on the back burner. I'm going to let it keep cooking. But I'm also going to take whatever God has given me right now. This is what you've done, Karis, and go just do it with all my heart and soul.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've heard that saying so many times too. And I feel like it was harder when I used to hear it, but I feel like I've developed my own confidence in that, God, he doesn't want us to, obviously we have to surrender and lay down I don't even like that phrase sometimes, lay down your dreams, because he's a personal God. He wants us to have our own dreams. Like he created marriage, he created, children and all that. So I think when that saying, just basically for me, it means, still have your dreams and desires and believe and trust that God's going to do it, and trust in his timing, because I think we can make it happen. That's the thing. You can go out and you can make anything happen if you want, but to want God's timing is so important. And so, I mean, to have those dreams and desires, but then also just say, okay, there's nothing I can really do about it. So I'm just going to now go forward in what God has. So
I love that. It's so good what you just said about timing. The story of Abraham and Hagar, and saying, okay, I have a dream from God. I mean, he was promised a child, but isn't it so true? We get impatient and we want to go force God's hand in the timing. And God is so redemptive for those times when we do that. But oh goodness, the older I get, I want to wait for his timing. Ron has a saying that he'll say to me for things I want. He'll say, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And if we push our way in, I think so often it's that toleration thing where, we may be welcomed, but were we invited? And God knows exactly how to invite us where we belong.
Yeah. And I, as you have a history, obviously we're a bit older, you have a history of seeing how God has worked and how his timing has happened. And I think in my life, he's pretty much put me in like this bubble of just, I've never dated, never had a boyfriend, it's very abnormal in some respects. And so I've lived in Haiti for 18 years, and some people are like, well, that's the reason why. I'm like, I feel like it's just, it's God's timing, and you have to trust that and want that and desire it no matter how hard it gets. And we don't always understand God's timing. I think especially now in this whole thing we're going through with coronavirus, like we can't control it. So let's just trust and believe that God has his own timing for us, and he knows what's best.
You and I also share the loss of your brother, who was in his 20s, right? Early 20s?
Yeah, 27. Yeah.
And our beloved son Jordan, who was 24
Mm-hmm.
when he passed away, or 23, about to turn 24, and we've talked about just the agony you go through, and how do you make meaning out of that this side of
Mm-hmm.
heaven? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll never comprehend why
Yeah.
it would be better for Jordan's young life to be over
Mm-hmm.
when the world needs people like him so
Mm-hmm.
much. And how have you found, as you've journeyed through, and a
Mm-hmm.
loss of a family member is a family journey very much. You've
Yeah.
got your parents, you've got your mom, you've got your dad, your other brother. How
Yeah.
have you found God showing up for you in that part of your journey?
Whew, I feel like, when you lose an immediate family member, loss is hard. There's all different kinds of loss, but that kind of loss is, I feel like, everything from July 18th, 2015, everything's before and after for me. It's
Mm,
not, obviously I'm the same person, same personality or whatever, but everything is really just changed. And, my brother, I have two younger brothers. My youngest brother was the first one to visit me in Haiti. He was 16 when he decided to come, and just had been there about 4 times. Two of those times he stayed a month. And I
wow.
look back and see God really used those times to deposit those seeds of missions into his life. And he was going to be a doctor. He, graduated from Harvard Westlake in LA, and he
Wow.
went to Pepperdine, like graduated Pepperdine. He just was an amazing, one of those people that you met him once and you never forgot about him.
Mm,
Infectious smile, infectious laugh, like extremely funny. Just yeah, I mean, we had the same heart. He really felt like he was going to be a doctor, and then when he really accepted Jesus, he knew that God was calling him into the ministry, and so he has an amazing story. But long story short, he ended up graduating college in May of 2015, and about around February the same year, just really felt led to go to the mission field, and so
wow.
God just really opened up the doors really, really quick, and he ended up moving to Ghana. He graduated college, then he turned 27, and then he moved just a few weeks later and went there and ended up getting sick with an infectious disease. And
Mm,
within about 7 weeks later, he passed away suddenly. And it was, one of those things you just never want to get that phone call, and you
mm,
just know when it happens. My mom had called me, and I don't really even remember that
mm.
conversation much. It's a blur, but just one of those things that you just don't expect. It was the last thing on my mind. And usually in all seasons, God has prepared my heart for something. My mom had cancer in 2013, and
Wow.
3 months before, I could feel like God was just saying, prepare to trust me. Those were the words I kept hearing in my heart. Prepare.
Wow.
And this loss came just out of the blue. I mean, we were so grateful that he had found his purpose, and he was so happy. I mean, the 7 weeks in Africa were like the best weeks of his life. He had found his
Mm,
purpose. He had a heart for special needs kids, and that was his main desire, was to create a ministry for people that had special needs where he could give them resources. And
wow.
so I tell people, people are like, how do you go through that? And I think your foundation has to be strong before that
Hmm.
happens. And it's been devastating for me. It's been devastating for my family. It just has so many, loss and grief has so many aspects, and some
Oh,
are
totally.
incredible and some are raw and some are
Totally.
hard, and everyone deals with it differently. But I think my foundation was secure before that. So when the storms come, you you cling to him. And I've never had anger. I think some people deal with
Hmm.
that, and I think that's a real emotion. I haven't had that. I think it's just you can't understand it.
Hmm.
It's he had so much life and so much ahead of him, and it's tragic, and there's no way I can comprehend. I've been a missionary for, at that time it had been about 13 years,
Mm.
and I had been sick, and yeah, I've had dengue fever and chikungunya. I've had different viruses, but I
Wow.
always happened to be in the States when it happened, or I had medical care. And then how do you reason I've been here in Haiti for this long, and then he just goes for 7 weeks and
Mm.
loses his life. But
Oh,
yeah, it's been, I mean, the loss of a child, and the grief, and all I can say is the verse that says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. I've never felt that
mhm.
more than I have the past few years, and it's just been it's been really special. My relationship with Jesus has been really special because he's been so close. And but it's one of those things you'll just live with the rest of your life, and it's
Yeah.
very, very hard. But
Yeah, I
mhm.
always describe it like you live in the tension of the mystery,
Yeah.
because you don't know
Hmm.
um, the script, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and we
Hmm.
know that God is the great
Hmm. Yep.
storyteller,
Yeah.
at the grand narrative level. Even
Hmm.
right now, what God is doing,
Hmm.
and what the world's going through, and the losses, it's so appropriate. I hadn't even thought of
Yeah.
this, but it's so appropriate to talk about these
Yeah.
crazy virus losses that happen, that
Hmm.
people are suffering. We have so many of our
Yeah.
people from our church in New York that are going through that,
Mm.
and it's just inexplainable. You can't reason it with
Yeah.
human understanding. But when Jesus
Yeah.
says that I give you peace that passes
Hmm.
understanding, it is that it's like a
Yeah.
supernatural blanket.
Hmm.
It's a supernatural provision that
Hmm.
comes. I know for me, as someone was asking me this when we just marked Jordan's anniversary of going to heaven,
Mm.
and my one friend was asking me, was it a really tough day? And I said, it's interesting for me that the day itself is not so difficult anymore, but
Yeah.
what's difficult is that I miss him,
Hmm.
and it comes on me when I don't expect it.
Yeah.
We'll be
Yeah.
somewhere, and I'll with the family, and I'll think, oh, I wish Jordan was here,
Hmm.
or something will remind me of Jordan,
Hmm.
the way he thought, the way he lived,
Yeah.
and it's just tension.
Yeah.
How do you replace
Yeah.
someone that's missing? You
Yeah.
don't. You
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. I 100% feel that way. I always say the actual day or anniversary is not that hard. I feel like I have a lot of peace on the anniversary day. It's the weeks leading up to it that have been
Mm,
really hard for me. And for sure, as years pass, it's been almost 5 years. It is those little things. It's the every little. I mean, I broke down crying 2 days ago.
mm.
You know, just by myself in my room. It was it comes on at the most random times, and
It's
you
true.
just miss that person, you miss their humor, you miss everything. And it's especially when you're dealing with life, and it could be the good things and the hard things. And I
Mm.
think, for even this whole thing that's been going on in the world the past few weeks, I felt like I've experienced more grief about my brother the past few weeks,
Wow.
just because
Yeah.
you have a lot of time and you're alone, and it's just yeah, it's been much harder, and I just miss him. You just
Wow.
miss it.
Yeah, I totally
Hmm.
get that. That's a
Hmm.
fascinating
Hmm.
revelation, though, really, is
Yeah.
yeah, you just miss them, and
Hmm.
you can't replace them.
Yeah.
People go through losses on so many levels. A dear friend of mine who's a psychologist was saying that there's going to be a lot of post-traumatic
Hmm.
um, issues from this whole thing, because we all think,
Yeah.
well, if I haven't lost somebody in death, for instance, that's the kind of loss we're talking about.
Mm.
But there's a lot of losses:
Yeah.
loss of plans, loss of finances,
Yeah.
loss of a lot of things, and loss is a very grief producing experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we can't we can't discount whatever losses we're going through,
Hmm.
small or
Yeah.
large, because they're real.
Yeah. Hmm.
You
Yes.
what just tell us, as we get ready to close, tell us what's
Mhm.
next for you, Karis. I mean, what are you thinking? Do you have any other dreams that you really want to pursue? What's kind of on your heart for the next move?
Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting past year. Usually I'm in Haiti full time, for 18 years I've been there, and come to the States a few weeks a year. But the past year, last March, I came to the States to work in our office, and have been here pretty much the whole year. I've made several trips back and forth to Haiti, but I've been here for the past year. And, God has brought different people on our team, and it's going great. As you get older, I just really have a desire just to really pour into our children in Haiti.
Mm,
There's been so much, throughout the years, just building. And I mean, I was with Danita, we were like the general contractors of all of our buildings. So it was,
Amazing.
people think being a missionary is like sitting on a swing and hanging out with children and
Right.
going out into villages. I'm like, well, it's mainly for me, it's been ordering concrete and rebar and building
Wow.
buildings. And but it's been amazing to see the fruit of that. So for many years it just was lots of just admin and building and, obviously raising children throughout all that. And I also went to school. It took me 13 years, but I finished in 2013. I did finish school online while I was in Haiti.
Wow.
So it's been busy. I think, now as I'm getting older, life keeps getting busier and you get more things added, but I just really desire, this is my biggest dream, is just to really disciple and pour into our kids and
Mm.
through Bible studies, through just devotion time, things that I haven't quite been able to do as much the past few years. Um, and just, I have such a huge heart for young people, as I'm getting
Mhm.
older. I feel in my heart, I'm like 25. I tell people I'm like stuck at 25
Oh yeah.
years
Oh
old,
yeah.
but I've just,
That's a very real thing. I feel stuck at 35. So you're
oh,
not quite really stuck yet, but
oh, but just a heart for young people using parts of my story and not just singleness, but just parenting and just believing in God's dreams for your life, all of that, just to pour
yeah.
into younger generation. And I don't know how all that looks, but that's a huge, huge dream of mine. So whether that be through a book one day or something,
Oh
that's what
yeah.
I'd love to do. Just use what God has taught me and then just pour it down to the next generation. And I think there's so much power in a book. I mean, that's how I really got connected with you.
I love that. Tell me that
Yeah.
story again. You were, oh, you picked up my book or something. I can't remember
Yeah.
how we found each other.
So years ago, when I first moved to Haiti, your name would come up sometimes. Danita would talk about you because she was single for a long time too. Um, and I just remembered your name. And then a couple months ago, our mutual friend, Sam Ponder, she had posted a picture of you. And I looked at the picture, then I looked at the name, and I was like, oh, this sounds so familiar. And then when I went to your Instagram, then I saw, oh, this is the girl that Danita used to talk about. And
Wow, so
so,
fun.
yeah, watched your videos. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to get her book. So I actually have it out here. But this is the book that I
Oh,
read.
that is precious.
No. So this is, if you guys are watching, this is amazing, amazing, amazing. But yeah, I was on my way back from New York, I think in February. I was there for 6 days with my mom and read it just in 2 hours on the plane. And just,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, it was like it would be like me writing a book in 15 years. It was just, I felt like we had such similar stories. And
Hmm.
I already bought, all the ones that were left on Amazon, sent it to my single friends. And
Oh, that is
yeah,
the
it's just, it
greatest.
was so, so
Thank
great.
you for
So
that.
yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, then
well,
I've learned to just, just contact people. And like, I think when you poured out your heart into a book, if I did that, I
right.
would love for people just to say, hey, this ministered to me. And so I went to your website, to the contact form, and I was like, well, I'll just send her a message. And then the next morning woke up with the most like beautiful email message. I think I'm going to frame it and just like keep it because it
Oh.
was so encouraging. So,
Well, when I
oh,
got your message, I was so encouraged. And,
mm,
I think it's one thing we forget how much we think, especially people who are maybe out there, have a platform like you certainly do. And we think,
mm,
well, they hear it all the time. But
mm,
you never hear enough, especially because I wrote that
yeah,
book during Jordan's first bout with cancer. And at
mm,
night, after he would go to bed and the days were just all melded into one, I would just sit down and just start typing my story. And the whole time I kept thinking,
wow.
who's going to even want to read this? Like,
Mm,
this is so not edited right. My first book
yeah.
had this outstanding editor that I was working with, but I just put it out there. And,
Mm,
and so when you years later realize that your story, we all need each other's stories.
hmm.
And that's
Yeah,
why I'm doing these lives. It's like, I want these stories to be available for other people because
yeah, I
it
love it.
just helps us in our own story. And so
Hmm.
to hear from you and to have such a rich
Mm,
affirmation just reminds us all that we're really in it together. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like you and I are walking together. I mean, you're on my prayer
Hmm.
list. I'm praying for your
Oh,
husband. I know he's
oh,
coming. And I
thank you.
know that God put us
Hmm.
together for such a time as this. And there's,
Yeah.
we're all connected for some reason like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. I agree.
So I'm your big
Thank you.
fan now. So you're not going to
Thank
get
you.
rid of me. I'm going to, we're going to find a way to get together here one of these days. New York,
Yes,
Nashville,
I
when they let us
know.
fly again, or when we feel comfortable flying again, I guess it is.
Yeah, I can't wait. I really can't. I just am so, so grateful for you and just sharing your heart through a book. It was just so powerful for me. So, and
Well,
I got my list of single girls too that I'm praying for. I got a little notebook full of it. So
oh, that
thanks
is
for your
so
prayers.
great. I encourage everybody to really be journaling right now.
Yes.
I think we're all going to want to read back what we're feeling, what we're going through.
Yeah.
This is the point in history that will be memorable, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I think it's so important. I mean, that's really what's helped me so much see what God has done in my life is just going back to journal and my memory. So much happens in life that you do forget things and seasons,
Yes.
and to go back and say, oh man, when I was 30, this is what I was struggling with, or 25.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's been my lifesaver, just being able to go back and see everything that's happened. So
Well, you are a living
mm,
light and example and such an
thank
inspiration,
you.
Karis. I mean, thank you for coming on today.
Oh, thank you.
We will make this video available. I just want everybody to know it'll be on my story for 24 hours, and then I post them out on YouTube, and I'll include the links to Denise's
Great.
children and Karis and all that. But
Thank
anyway,
you. Thank you
Karis,
for having me. I'm
you
so
are
grateful.
you are truly a beauty
Oh,
inside and out. You are
thank
set
you.
apart by God, and
Mm,
you're encouraging all of us
mm,
to not settle and to
mm,
keep dreaming and
yeah.
go dream every dream. And the ones that are on hold, we trust them
Hmm.
with God for His timing.
Amen. I agree with
All
that.
right.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank you
talk
so
to you
much.
soon.
Okay, bye.
Great to
Thanks,
have you. Bye,
everyone.
everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for
Bye.
joining.